Now, one of the key issues of the last couple of weeks, of course, the issue of the minimum wage. Where's the Prime Minister on that in the closing days of the campaign? Is it still the critique of Labor as being irresponsible on that front?
Well, I thought I saw a subtle shift, better get that right, in language last night from the PM when asked about wages. Previously, he'd said it was irresponsible in the extreme for Anthony Albanese to suggest that the minimum wage might rise at the 5.1% rate of inflation. Here he is last night on 7:30, pointing out 7 of 8 times the minimum wage has moved higher than inflation under his government.
7 out of the last 8 minimum wage decisions made by Fair Work ensured that the minimum wage rose faster than inflation.
The Prime Minister there on the ABC. So not long to go, 4 days or so in this campaign. What's your overall sense of things? I know on the weekend you gave your view as to where the final outcome is. Nothing really... Bravely, but still with a bit of wiggle room.
Courageously in Yes Minister parlance.
Yeah, indeed. But I don't think much has changed since then, is it fair to say?
I don't think so. The housing thing would have helped the government. They are still relying on the fact that the public and published polls are wrong. And you get a bit of a sense of that. But I've said before, the best coalition outcome I've heard of is still minority. It's like 74 seats. That's their best case scenario. So I think it's more likely Labor wins majority. And, you know, when the polls are where they are, the coalition primary vote in the doldrums at 35. Labor could be stronger, though, at 38. You'd have to think a small majority to Labor is likely. I'll tell you what, there's not much point continuing with polls if there's a different result. I did pick up one thing today, though, Kieran. Someone did say to me, there's a couple of seats where the Liberal and Labor polling is opposite. So Robertson, and you know, went out there and did the door knock and felt that Labor was really in the ascendancy. The Labor polling has Robertson ahead. I had some industry association polling on the weekend which showed them ahead 58-42. The Liberal polling apparently has it much tighter. And Gilmore, Andrew Constance, well, I'm told it's up in the air by Labor. The Liberals are more confident about that. But I had that industry association polling which had Labor ahead 56-44. So seat-by-seat polling is notorious, I guess, for perhaps getting it wrong, especially in those three-cornered contests with the Teals.
Yep.
But that YouGov poll, which broke it down seat by seat, was very clear, the Australian published that. There were no Liberal gains in that. There were, and that's not surprising after 9 years, but there were some Labor gains. And realistically, they only need 4 or 5 net gains to hit minority government and 7 net gains to hit majority. In a House of Representatives of 151, with Scott Morrison having had tough times and his popularity having diminished over the vaccine rollout and such issues, it does seem like 7 or 8 seats isn't that great an ask. Having said that, Queensland still holding up. Some Labor optimism they can get a couple there. Whatever happens, Scott Morrison will still have 2/3 of the seat there, which really shows that Queensland will be the other way completely to states like New South Wales and Victoria.
I'm going to be joined by John Howard shortly. He's campaigning this afternoon in the seat of Kooyong. And one of the things I want to ask him is, how did it get to a point where Teal independents are credible threats, whether they win or not, in Wentworth, in Kooyong, in Goldstein, in North Sydney, to get his view on where the Liberal Party has lost this support along the way?
Well, that'll be very interesting. And I think the biggest threat, from what I've heard, is Goldstein. I think Tim Wilson's in awful trouble. I think it's touch and go for Trent Zimmerman. Some talk that this attack by the Liberals over the Climate 200 and Simon Holmes à Court funding people has made some impact, at least at the pre-poll. So they think Dave Sharma could be saved. But it is a very interesting question. And more broadly than that, Kieran, it just means the entire election is just harder for the Liberal Party to fight.
Andrew Clennell, great to get your insights on that.